Welcome to Chronically Healthy Life Show. When you hear the word chronically, do you automatically associate it with chronic disease? We all do. It's been programmed right into us. But what if we flip that whole idea on its head? Let's discover how we can create chronic health in our bodies, our minds, our finances, our relationships, and of course, in our lives. Let's jump right on in. I'm Andy, and joining me in everything or most everything is my life partner Minna.
Almost everything. So we're 4 weeks into 2025, right? So a
Yes.
lot of people has New Year's resolutions, and sometimes this might be the right time to actually evaluate how that's going, right? I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to eat vegan, for example. That was your goal.
Okay.
So now would be time to say, why are you doing vegan? Is it because you have a chicken as a pet before and you don't want to eat chicken? You have a cow pet before, zebras. So if that was the reason for humane reasons and you keep on doing vegan, perfect, great for you, right? But if you're going vegan because you want to lose weight or you want to lower blood sugar or blood pressure, and that's not working, now is the time to know that that's not working. Otherwise, some people actually double down, right? They will
Correct.
eat more vegan, even less meat or whatever. But if it's not working, you might want to change the strategy. If your ultimate goal is to lose weight or lower blood sugar, get better, blood pressure or something like that, right? So that applies to relationships too. You might want to develop new better relationships with someone, but this might be the time to start looking, is it the right thing to do?
Exactly. So who do we have guests today?
Well, today we have two guests, like we had the last 3 weeks before. So we have two guests. The first guest is one of our chronic health collective coaches. Her name is Dawn Omalza, and she is a holistic health coach. She's a corporate wellness advocate and a speaker, and she's the founder of New Dawn Holistic Health. And she empowers clients recovering from serious health conditions to embrace self-healing through personalized coaching, bioresonance testing, and energy work. Now, Dawn's expertise lies in guiding individuals and businesses to cultivate emotional resilience and well-being through holistic approaches.
That's awesome. And our returning special guest today is Leandra Frey, and she's a certified life coach, and she specializes in helping women recover from heartbreak after divorce. So she's a dating coach. Her mission is to shorten the time it takes to heal and recover your sense of self after the trauma of divorce. And her goal is to help women reignite their love life with courage and attract the right mate. Wow, attracting the right mate. That's going to be interesting. She helps women navigate the world of dating with an authentic approach of learning how to have fun and confidence at the same time. And having been divorced herself, she knows the power of shifting your mindset from resentment to feeling love again. So this topic today is, we're calling it the shadow side of new beginnings. And it's about navigating work relationships and, of course, dating drama. These things have parallels happen in work and in personal life. So it's going to be a great, discussion today.
It's going to be interesting, and we'll be back.
We'll be right back.
An empowered life has no expiration date. We're all created to do incredible things. like conquer summits, catch big waves, and live our passions. As time goes on, our bodies begin to show signs that things just aren't as they used to be. Our energy levels decline, sleep patterns shift, and recovery slows. But our bodies are masterpieces of design, holding the potential to bounce back better than ever. With X39, we achieved something remarkable in the field of wellness and regenerative science that others could not. By utilizing LifeWave's unique patented technology, X39 uses light to elevate GHKCU, a copper peptide known to support overall health and wellness. Unlike traditional light therapy, which requires external light sources, X39 uses the body's own infrared light to naturally increase vitality, enhancing the body's flow of natural energy. For improvements in strength, stamina, performance, and overall health and well-being, with the simplicity of an affordable, non-invasive, non-transdermal patch. As we age, levels of these life-enhancing elements, which are associated with wellness and longevity, begin to decline. LifeWave invested 10 years into stem cell research, which resulted in over 70 patents. X39 was born to bring to the public a product that can support wellness in an entirely new way, supporting the production of younger, healthier cells with wearable light technology. Becoming a powerhouse is easier than you think. Harness your body's natural potential to maintain youthful energy and vitality, because life comes at you fast, but it doesn't have to pass you by. Live long, live well, live young. Be the light with LifeWave X39. LifeWave.
Can you see me? I don't know where my camera is. Can you hear me?
Hi, I can't see you though, Leandra.
No, I don't know what's happening.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm like trying to think. We'll try a different camera. Maybe that'll work. I don't know.
Okay.
So interesting. Okay, so that was me stopping the camera, but I'm gonna try it again. Wow. Okay.
Well, welcome everyone while Leandra's dealing with her technical difficulties here. No worries. We can still continue on. And life happens. I think that's just like a perfect scenario of what I encounter a lot in corporate wellness and what you and I are both going to share with the audience today, right? Is that you never know when something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you just have to flow with it and go with the flow and just work. It'll all work itself out. But hi, Leandra, it's so nice to see you.
Can you see me now?
Yes, I can see you.
I just switched my cameras. We'll go with it. I'm here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, Happy New Year. I hope
segue.
everything's going well for you. So I'm so curious. I love the fact that you're in the space of, life and dating coach. And it does have a lot of parallels in what I do in the corporate side, because a lot of times when I'm dealing, from when I used to be in HR, a lot of times, a lot of the struggles were with women who are dealing with some kind of relationship issue, right? So you want to share with me? I mean, I'm so curious as how you decided that this is the path that you wanted to take, and how, why it's your mission now to help others in this journey.
Yeah. Well, I was divorced I was divorced in 2010. I have since happily remarried. But one of the things I noticed during the time that I was out there dating and, learning how to find love again and attract the right partner. And at the time I was like, oh man, I'm so old, my 30s at the time. Now I'm like, oh my gosh. But I think part of like what helped me get into it is I was also in corporate, and I had gotten really interested while I was going through the whole personal transformation of trying to find love. Also in my work life, I realized just what you said, that relationships are so important, whether it's at work or outside of work, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's when I really got into personal development, took every training class that my work place had anything from resiliency, situational management, the whole thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, we all need this, not just at work, but at home. And so the more I got into personal transformation, that's what helped me really get into. Once I was learning to use it at work, right? Because everything, if you really come down to it at work, it's how you, how you relate to your bosses, or how you relate to your teammates, or if you're, in this case, I was running audits across the country. And so then relating to the people that you were, hey, are you doing this right? There's a way to do it, and a way that is easy and not supposed to be like I'm the bad guy or whatever the case is. And so the more I was transforming my relationships at work, dating became easier, because then I was like, oh, we all just need to learn to listen deeply and ask really good questions and see if we're a match. And if we're not a match, it's okay. But if you still have to, work with someone, right? When you're dating, you can just be this is not for me.
Yeah.
But when you're in work and you're trying to get a project done, but maybe your values don't align, you can still have the same vision, where we're like, hey, we're trying to get this project done for the vision of this company or whatever it is that we're doing, and learning to keep the eye on the ball with that. I think, and we don't have enough, I think at work, and people are getting better at it, but at the time I realized like people just didn't know how to have those tough conversations. And guess what? In the dating world, a lot of people don't know how to have tough conversations. So I'm like, oh, these skills are applicable. So going through that whole process, same things get easier at work, and then me easily learning to date, and I got faster, right? I got faster at identifying if these people, if someone that I was dating was the right person for me, and if they weren't, it wasn't. You didn't take it personally, and you help them feel good about the decision that you were making for both of you, right? Okay, I don't, I'm like, this is part of the process of finding the person that we're looking for versus the rejection. Like, we'll talk about like, oh, I don't want to go through the rejection. I'm like, you want to be rejected. You want to reject because we want to find who we're looking for, not who we're settling for.
Right.
Yeah, through that whole process. I want to say, and this was, I was in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC. So I feel like my time out there was just a beautiful time. I don't live there anymore. I live in Texas, and I did bring the guy I was dating there. I brought him down to Texas, but we're now married. That's how that whole thing was just, that whole transformation on personal development, and just learning to have the right mindset, be curious, be open, all the things that we need in the corporate world, as in our transformation or in our personal relationships. I have all the tools today, because otherwise, and I can feel when I'm not. I can feel when I'm being resentful, or when I'm like not wanting to talk to someone or have the hard conversation. So if I'm talking to a client, but like, hey, are you ready to have that hard conversation with the guy that you are ready to, go to the next step with? And they're like, no, what if he says no? And I'm like, oh, that's me not wanting to talk about something that's going on in my life. So
yeah, I do have to agree with you, is that we have to recognize that it's a process, right? I mean, whether if it's dating or if it's something that you're dealing with at work, it is a process, but we tend to take things so personally, like it seems like we're so limited to the relationships that we have or the encounters that we have, but there's so many people in this world that we're gonna have these encounters with, and we like limit ourselves, and we just get hung up on that one rejection or that one pushback, and it's just so sad to see. And I totally get it. So for you, like myself, I did a lot of personal development. But there's a lot of people that do the same that we do, read a lot of books, watch a lot of movies, get a lot of mentors, invest a lot in ourselves. And we've made the leap to make that shift. Exactly. So what do you think makes you different from the others, and what's holding other people back from making that shift for themselves?
Yeah, well, I think the big thing that helped me is that I was actively, as I was reading whatever book or development or whatever, because I was also looking for the love of my life, right? I was actively getting to practice all these things, right? And That was, and not just in the dating world. One of the places that I leveled up was, I had learned, I had learned, one of the trainings I had gone to was just, I realized I was having really mediocre relationships. They're kind of just right here when they could go up here. And one of them was with my brother.
Oh.
And we didn't have a bad relationship. Our relationship was just kind of like, he's the father of my 3 nephews, and that was it. So like, I'm like, oh, my brother, like, what about him? All I care about is the boys. And I realized after I was taking stock of not just my work or my love life, I was really taking stock of my family life. I realized, I'm like, what would it look like if I really got to know my brother for who he is?
Yeah.
Right? Not what my family was telling me. And we have a 12-year age difference, which is part of the issue at the time. Now, at the time I was like, well, it's because we're 12 years apart and he has family, he's got 3 boys, and I really only care about his wife and 3 boys. And I finally made a decision. I'm going to try this out to see what it looks like when you pursue someone, not pursue in a romantic sense, but pursue someone and really say, I'm going to call you every Sunday. I'm going to call you. I want to see what's going on in your life, right? Because that's when you really care for someone, you really see like, hey, what's going on? Or you send text or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that. And I think they didn't. So I did it like, I think for 3 straight months, like every week I would call him. I called him, and sometimes he would answer, and sometimes he would be like, I don't know. And sometimes he didn't know what to do with me. Like,
Right.
He was like, what do you want? Like, what's
Yeah.
the problem? And then finally, one day he called me back. I think I missed a call or I missed 1 week. And he was like, hey, you didn't call me this week. I'm like, well, I didn't think you were interested. You weren't actually answering, or he would miss. He's like, no, I'm here. What? And then finally he asked, well, what time works for you? I'll tell you what time better works for me to talk.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And then many years later, that was like, I think that was 2016. I think this was like 5 years later. They tell me that him and his wife tell me the story. They're like, hey, when you started calling him, we thought you were dying. We thought like you had gotten some sickness and we're doing your like, I'm gonna go see all the people that I care about because I want I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, so I got to practice in this case what it looks like to be curious, show up consistently when the other person's not ready for you or they're still not. And then our relationship now, I mean, we're so like, I'm here. The reason I'm also back in Texas was I want to be close to my dad. But even after my dad passed away, I was like, I'm not leaving my brother or my sister for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he's very actively in my life, but that was an act of transformation. I was like, I want to change this relationship. What am I willing to do? That's the question most people have to ask. What are you willing to do? So when I start working with someone like dating, right, if they're getting ready to date in the world, I'm like, how much time are you willing to invest?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That one's a time commitment. And then how much are you willing to, what's the energy, right? How much, not just time, but energy. And then are you up for doing all these multiple conversations? What does that look like? So a lot of it's asking yourself, are you willing? And then stepping into that. So that was probably the big thing that I had I had several areas where I could practice. What does it look like to be love to someone, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic love, but in this case, I was, trying it at work, trying it with my love life. And then I was like, I want to do this with my family and the radar. So,
that's beautiful. But it is, I mean, just to give, the audience a visual, right? It is like being on a seesaw relationships, right? And sometimes we pull forward, we go to the middle, but the other one's still sitting at the other end. And the only way to find that balance is if both sides are meeting in the middle, right? But it's going to be a teeter-totter, you're going to be teetering until, it's helping the other person get out of their comfort zone. But the process is so simple, right? I mean, when you think about it, it's like I made a choice, I took that first step, and then I was consistent with it, and I just kept going. And then, eventually people change. So you yourself, it all starts with our individual selves and how we're showing up for other people. And so that's great. That's a great story because I have a lot of siblings, And my
Aw.
parents I came from a divorced parent, so I'm the only child. So I have like 3 half brothers and 2 half sisters. Well, yeah, 2 half sisters and 1 stepsister. And
Wow.
the dynamics and the age difference, like you were mentioning, 12 years, that's the same with me. I'm talking about a 9-14 year. My youngest sister is only a year older than my youngest son. I mean, my
Oh,
oldest,
wow. Yeah.
so yeah, good for you. I'm glad you were able to apply what you've learned, and, it helped you in your own personal life. Good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah. I keep practicing it, or I tell people it's possible. I'm like, it's possible, but
Yeah.
consistency, right? And
Yeah.
that's with any new thing that you're trying. I mean, as you know, like in the wellness world, just staying consistent, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
not going for perfection. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the big deal. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
or that's where a lot of the transformation is. And then learning to get back up
Yeah.
when someone's like, what? Why are
Yeah.
you calling me? So,
So you deal with, have you dealt with, like, so for me, a lot of times with the women in the workplace, and they're dealing with some kind of breakup or a really major big fight with their significant partner. And, I've lent an empathetic ear, but then at the same token, I'm their supervisor, and I need to make sure that they get back on the horse, right? And be
yeah,
productive, because we can't drag this out really long.
yeah.
So in your practice, what kind of advice do you give folks, like, just, because I'm sure also they're worried about work, right? And they know
Yeah.
that they're not showing up. So what advice do you, often give them? Like, how do you be just present in the day to get yourself
Oh,
through
yeah,
the day, right?
yeah. Usually I tell them, like, recently I just had someone, I was just talking to someone this week. She just got divorced in December. It finalized. And she was already ready to date right away. And I already knew, like, having gone through it myself, I'm like, man, you still need some time to unpack, right? We still need some time to unpack. But usually I'll tell people, um, obviously still go to work. I mean, if you're able to take a day, great. But work obviously keeps your mind off things. But one of the things is, I say, what brings you joy, right? What is something that you really like to do, but you don't do enough of? So for me, when I was going through a really hard time, this wasn't necessarily with a divorce, but recently I had a couple of years ago, I had a miscarriage, and I was really mourning. And so I knew dance, like doing dance really helped me. And so they were doing a spring, like, where we actually dance for your family and friends. You can sign up, and it's, you go to rehearsals and everything. And I'm like, I knew that would help me get out of my sad mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
so, because even when I was going through my divorce, I would still try to do fun things for myself. Like, it sounds really simple, but just putting anything on the calendar that's going to bring you joy. So even, it's not have to be every day. I mean, everyone talks about, like, do this every day, go for a walk every day. If you have kids and you're trying to, like, go to work and do all the things, we don't exactly have the capacity for that. But if
Right.
you have time for once a week, and in this case, the dance showcase that I was preparing for was about once or twice a week, but my brain would look forward to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they always say, like, if you're planning a vacation, um, the taking the vacation is just as fun as planning for it, right? The 3 or 4 months leading up to it,
Mm-hmm.
versus like the 2 weeks where, like, I feel like I'm going to go to wherever, and I'm like, which is fine. I mean, people do that wherever. But if you're really going through something, whatever, that's one of the first things I do. And then obviously surrounding yourself with people that you love. For me, it was talking to my sister, going for walks, and just telling people what I needed, right? So, which we don't easily do, by the way. We'll say, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine.
Yeah, everything's yeah.
So, being honest with yourself and saying, yes, and go ahead and cry. You go to work, you're going to go run to the bathroom. I was very fortunate when I went through my divorce. I was blessed with a really great supervisor who's still, she's still in my life today. I mean, we only worked together for, I think literally she was in my life for 2 years. And she was like, yeah, I was meant to just be in this in your life for these 2 years as you went through this transition, right? The time leading up to my divorce, the divorce, and then as I made my move to another job. And so she was a great supervisor. She was, she really would listen to me, but I still worked, right? But she would give me a moment, like our one-on-ones. She would let me be upset, if I was upset about something, and she would listen, but then she would nicely steer it back to work.
Right.
And then if I was struggling, like with, in this case at the time, I had a customer service job. If I was struggling, like with closing something or not being as nice, right? I'm a very bubbly personality. Obviously, I wasn't very bubbly in those moments. It's just to remind me who I am. Like so reminding your people if they're going a hard time to not, yes, there's a place to act out and be cry and be really mean, but also reminding them, and you are also this person full of integrity, full of honesty, full of genuine, and you know how to treat people right in spite of your angry feelings. There's a place for that, time and place for that.
Right. But I think, as much as we have those guidance and we try to control our emotions, those things that we suppress are creepers and it just shows up when we least expect it. And so you mentioned about giving yourself time to unpack. When we come back from the break, I want to explore that a little bit more and how we suppress our feelings. And
sounds like a plan. Yeah. And that's its own. You're probably really good at that. Like holy process of emotions.
I do have a lot to share about that too. I mean, in my experience, I raised my 2 children on my own after being in a partnership for 14 years. So I have some stuff to share on that.
Yeah, please do. And then how it applies with what you do now. I mean, just the stuff that you do at work or in your business. Because part of like why we get sick sometimes is because we're suppressing all those emotions, right?
Absolutely.
And, it's intense. People don't realize our feelings are tied to chronic, not chronically health, but some of the chronic diseases that we see.
Or just right. Or chronic suffering.
Very true.
Excuse me.
No.
Let's see. And then we'll cover that after the break, and then we'll also I'll share a little bit more about my story as well. But thank you for sharing your your story. It's been very enlightening, and I want to hear more about the what you've been doing and what projects is coming up for you for 2025.
It's so fun. I'm excited for 2025. I have lots of goals.
That's great.
For my clients, I'm like, we got to get into some serious relationships. I want to go to some weddings in 2026.
Nice. We'll talk about that after the break.
Imagine a life where every day is fueled by energy, vitality, and purpose. Where age is just a number and your best years are always ahead. Hi, I'm Andy Nam, certified functional nutrition longevity coach, best-selling author, and international speaker. After reversing my own chronic health struggles, I'm now on a mission to help you live longer, stronger, and of course to look younger. I combine biohacking, cutting-edge nutrition, and stem cell technology to unlock your body's full potential. So no matter where your starting point is, I'm going to guide you toward a chronically healthy life. Ready to reverse aging and take control of your future? Connect with me today. Your journey to longevity starts here.
Hey, welcome back.
Oh, welcome back. Oh my gosh. Thank you for all those. Thank you for letting me share myself and
Yeah.
some of my stories. But I definitely wanted to hear, especially when we were talking about, what happens when we suppress our feelings.
Mhm.
They're usually not suppressing feelings of happiness. Or suppressing our feelings of, resentment or anger is usually what I usually hear in clients when they're going through a breakup. Like, he should have, I wish I could have, if
Mhm.
only I had gotten out sooner, right? I hear that a lot. If I had gotten
Oh,
out
yeah.
sooner. So
Yeah.
just curious, in your, like, how did, with that question, how you got into what you're doing now, which corporate wellness, I mean, whew, we could talk a lot about like inauthentic feelings that are happening in there, but how you got into it, and what are some tools that you use?
Yeah, so I just had a birthday a couple weeks ago, and I was reminded that I'm no longer 50. I'm actually 51. So I have to thank my kids for reminding me.
Congratulations.
But, for me, when it came to relationships, I started off really young. I was 23 years old when I had my first child. But at
Oh,
the same time, I bought my first home. I was on my way to finishing my college education and starting my career. And then not too long after having the first child, I had one more. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this what my life is going to be like? Just having, babies every 2 years. And I was only 26 years old, and so quickly I realized, like, I know this is not who I am, and I want what's best for my children, and knowing what's best for my children is doing what's right for me. And so I was the bad guy in the relationship, and I left. And not only did I leave, but I left the town, I live on a different island in Hawaii, but I left the island. I
oh,
got a new job. I took the two children with me, not knowing how or we were going to do it, but we survived on our own. I had the new job, the new career. I did, everything I'm supposed to do to build a successful career, and it really was easy to do because my focus was just about um, what do you call it? Like what is that word? I just drew it back. Was really just to survive,
yeah,
right? To
yeah.
provide for my children, be a good role model, go to work hard, and get your education. But when we talk about suppressing your feelings and having it creep up on you, for me, that grieving process didn't happen until after my last one graduated from high school.
Wow, that's many years.
A 20 years of
Oh,
suppressed
goodness.
of craziness, right? So not only did I experience the emptiness syndrome and a
Oh,
midlife crisis, it's like, oh my gosh, I was so young when I started my life. I didn't even have time to identify who I was or who I am as an individual. And yeah, and so there was my journey with personal development and doing all that kinds of stuff, and the stress, so now it's like I'm in a much better place, but it's a very confusing time for my kids.
I'm like, who are you?
It's like, wait, mom, you said this is the way to do it, and now you're telling us we don't need to go to college, we don't need, to do it this way. I'm like, yeah, I just want you to be happy. Find something that you're happy with, and the
Mhm.
money will come. You'll figure that out. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so crazy. I feel bad that I put them on this journey, but at least they're learning it now before they are in a position where they were like with me, with all these not obligations but commitments and responsibilities. They're not there yet, but at least they have some time to develop and grow and find out who they are before making those commitments. So yeah, it's a creeper. It really does show up when you least expect it. So you think you've gone through a lot of healing, but no.
Yeah, yeah, and it shows up in different seasons. So, and
Yes.
also you had probably, if you're thinking about it, you had time to breathe, right,
Yeah.
after raising your kids
Yeah.
and working. And then, was it anything that was it all of a sudden that you noticed that all of a sudden the feelings were coming up, or was there a moment, or were
It
you
was
like,
a it was a progressive thing. I would say like a good 5 years as I started to learn more, study more about personal development and
Mhm.
just learning about my mind, because there was other things that was going on. Like I never slept ever, I was always working bills, or how I was going to take care of stuff at work, and I needed to be someplace at a certain time for the kids, and like there was just so much going on that I never slept. And so I recognized that, and that's why it was really important to understand what was going on in my head.
Yeah.
Now I sleep like a baby. Like, don't bother me. Like, if I need to sleep, don't bother me. I need to. I don't care what's going on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Good with saying no.
I'm still learning the no.
Yeah, I mean, same here, but you just know at some point in time, it's like, you know what? I think it's okay for me to not go to this birthday party, or for me not to go to this dinner. They'll understand.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So tell me, thinking about that now, if someone is going through something at work, right? You were talking about
Mhm.
when you notice, what would you help them with now, knowing what you went through, right? Like what, especially
Yeah.
if you come through, and it doesn't
Right.
have to be divorce. It could just be, like,
Even
they
just a
had a bad
disappointment.
review or something, right? Or, there's, I mean, just living this life, there's always something.
Of course.
Or someone got, I think about when I remember I was at work when I got the news that my dad had a cancer diagnosis, and I was like,
Mm,
oh my gosh.
yeah.
And there was a wide berth for me. Like, thankfully, the people I had been with, there was a very wide berth, but
Mhm.
just, I don't know what you, now knowing what you know, these last 5 years, how has that transformed?
Yeah, I think what people don't realize is that because they spend so much time at the workplace, they don't really sometimes understand how important those relationships are that they not knowingly develop at the
Mhm.
workplace. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I mean, I see in two ends of the spectrum. There's relationships where they can rely more on their coworkers to be there for them in the most trying times, and then the workplace can also be the most loneliest place, and you're just a statue there, right, and have
Yeah.
no working relationships. So
Yeah.
I see both sides, but if you if you're really showing up every day, and it's not like wanting to be best friends with everyone, but just
Yeah.
developing healthy relationships and being transparent about what your life is, just sharing a little bit about your personal experience. People are empathetic, right? But then we also need to know where to draw the boundaries, because sometimes people like to draw into your life, and they
Yeah.
feed off of that. Because, and I'm not judging anyone, but it happens, right? And it's like, oh, that sounds so much more interesting in what's happening in your life than what's going on in mine. Tell me
Yeah.
more, right? It's like
Yeah.
watching a soap opera every day. So having those boundaries, but having healthy relationships, and just being open about what's going on. Sometimes we go in and they're just too sheltered and not wanting to, share too much. And I get it. I get it. Your privacy is very important. But again, people just need to know a little bit enough so that they know where you're coming from. So it's about just practicing your communication and how you deliver the message to the
Mhm.
folks that need to hear what's going on with you in the workplace.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I talk about a lot with my book that I just published, navigating challenges in the workplace for employees. It's for employees
Yeah.
because of stuff like this. It's like they're so afraid to either be judged about what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
They're either just so stressed, they don't want to share because they're worried about getting fired, because they know that their attendance is going to slip or has been slipping, and they're just trying to avoid it in every which way. you
Yeah.
know but again, it's really just having those conversations and sharing enough so that people know, because it's not just about you at the workplace. Yes,
Yeah.
you have a role, but everyone else has their role too. And if you just have one little squeaky wheel, then everything doesn't work And then if they don't know what's going on, they can't prepare. So it's just a courtesy to help people navigate so that they know how to support you. It's not that they don't, oh no, she's, she's going through this again or whatever,
Yeah.
right? She's being a burden. No, it's not
Yeah.
about that. It's just like, give me a little time so I can shift and adjust myself so that I can support you in this time of need. And so, yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah, what an incredible book to read. This book to write. What are the top, like gosh, that's one of the name of my things that that I host every month. It's called
oh,
Navigating Your Path to Love. I love you. I'm
cool.
like, yeah, we're all like trying to help people, but I love the just wow, just hearing what like sharing like with others what's going on in your life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because, when I was in human resources, it was really difficult because I am an empathetic person, and I'm not, I don't favor, I'm fair. But there were a lot of times when sometimes like I just wanted to hug them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what are you doing to yourself? And then sometimes I just wanted to just knock them on the head and go, what are you thinking? Stop that.
Yeah.
Like, you're so much better than that.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while. It took me 4 years to finally bite the bullet and just get this book done, because I was afraid. I really was afraid that I
Yeah.
was gonna say something or overstep my boundaries. Because there's some things we just don't share, right, in HR.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've noticed in the last year, especially after the whole pandemic, that HR has um, just being trashed online. I mean, I've seen some crazy, it was funny, some funny videos about how HR function, but there's so much bashing, and I just want to kind of shift everyone's intentions to say, okay, you know what? Yeah, you know what? We don't know what we're doing in HR.
Yeah.
Everything's changing, but we need help. How can we better support you in the organization, and how do you want to see us, and what can we do for you to see that we do bring value to the organization?
Absolutely.
But it's not just them, but it's the leaders and the employees, right? They all have to be working together simultaneously and cohesively for it to work. So yeah, trying to change that culture, the culture in the corporate environment, that's the biggest thing. And I'm trying to tackle corporate wellness, but it's going to be a hard one, because they're all looking for what's going to be my return on investment. And yes, I can talk to you and how you're going to save money on the bottom line, but I really want them to take it to heart on what a big impact they can have by having a much better work environment. And it's more than just the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, it just makes me think of like retention, right? Like, because if you don't have people that feel safe at work, or they're not getting supported, you leave. But yes, but showing the ROI on that, right?
Mhm.
I totally understand where corporate is like, what's the profit here? And there's no profit. It's just, we don't lose anything, or we don't lose good people because we didn't know how to
Right.
come together as a team. And that's such a great. I just had my sister just went through that at her work. She was having a tough time with an employee, and I was like, ask her. I said, ask her what's going on, like
Yeah.
really what's going on,
Yeah.
like, truly, because it was one of those people that kept close to the vest, didn't share
Yeah.
anything, and it was her mom was diagnosed with dementia.
Mm.
And once I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh. I had resources to help her. Like, here's who she needs to call. But it was really cool to see they practice what you said. Everyone came together
Mm-hmm.
to say, yes, okay, thanks for communicating this, because what was going to happen, since she was missing and not showing up, she was stressed out herself, the employee, was she was about to get fired because she hadn't communicated what she needed
Right.
or what was going on. And then they were able to move her into a less stressful environment where she didn't have to travel, so that she could still work, provide for her family, be there for her mom. But that doesn't happen, that's a rare story, right? Like, so I love that actually works. It can work when you share what's going on. It doesn't have to be everything, but
Yeah.
otherwise, people think that we're special snowflakes and can well perform at the top performance and have this big thing going on.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not the human condition.
Yeah.
Something's got to give.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. So I love hearing is there a favorite story in your book that you use or example that you really resonates with you as a reason to why we need to communicate?
I think so. I shared 8 different case scenarios in that book,
Oh, okay.
and I think
I love
each one really made me decide I didn't want to be in HR anymore.
Running the gauntlet over there.
No, because I really took it to heart because I'm about being fair. And so, like how you were sharing about the situation with your sister's, employee at her workplace and how everyone came together. I think where we fail in the organization is that we pick and choose when we come
Yeah.
together. And, when we look at each person's situation, we're putting it on a scale. And so it doesn't matter how deep or how heavy the situation is, if it's from a 1 to 10, even if it's at a level 2, the employee is struggling and they deserve the same amount of attention that someone who's grieving a loss of someone, right? And that's where we fail as an organization, and that's why employees feel they feel the way that they feel.
Yeah, they feel not supported. Oh my
So
gosh.
that's where organizations, they lack the consistency of what they do, and they mean well, but they put more urgency on one situation over the other. But nowadays, especially with the new generation, and with their I don't want to say lack of social, but they're very different generation.
Yeah.
They're not tolerant. Like they can pick up really fast whether you're genuine or not, and they don't care to walk away. And they're willing to walk away from an organization that they really feel doesn't really care about them, and that's sad. And organizations have to take that very seriously, because their retention, they thought they had retention problems before, it's going to get worse. And offering $1,000 bonus for staying on for just 90 days ain't gonna cut it. I'm sorry. It's not. They'll stay the 90 days, take the $1,000 and just bounce out. So they have to really come in it truly from the heart, that this is the way they want their organization to be, and they want everyone to embrace that.
Oh man, when you're talking about this generation, I'm like, oh, so yeah. I mean, I remember this was when I was in the workforce. I remember when the millennials were coming in, and I thought it was the worst thing. They didn't think they stayed in place long enough, right? It was like 4 years, and we're like, that's terrible. And now we're like, can we say 90 days? So, but and then there's more sharing of information. So that's the big thing that's also been great. But also, if people know that when you're talking about the consistency of the leadership, then it looks like the optics are, well, then you're playing favorites, right? And so then it's how to be consistent as a leader, right? And that's in any organization, whether it's corporate or us running our own businesses, is how to stay consistent in how we are. So I totally get that. So what would you tell them in how to stay consistent in how they handle
how to stay consistent? I think if it really has to boil down to identifying where they really want to be in the organization, and then from there they can work on how they present themselves every day and how to show up, and then how to skill set themselves to have a longevity career, right, wherever that they go. I mean, it really starts with that, I think, and then the rest will just come into play, because they're going to just stay true to who they are. But I just want, before we break again, I just want you to share with everyone, because I know you have a lot more to share about what you do. How can they find you and find out more about what you do?
Oh, thank you. Yes, we are. So I am a life dating coach. I help women that have gone through a divorce or widowhood, or if they just took themselves out of the dating game after many years. They maybe never got to marriage. I help them get back out into the dating world with confidence and courage. And how they can reach me, they can find me on Facebook at Frey Coaching or on Instagram. And then if you scan each of these codes, it takes me where you can scan it to get on a call with me, free of charge, where we talk about where you're at, where you want to go, and what's stopping you, right? What's going on in your head, right? And same thing for you. If we scan your code, it also takes you to a call with you. And we didn't even get into your story.
No, we covered a lot, believe it or
Yeah,
not.
I know we got into your book, but I'm like, then we have your other story. I'm like, I feel like there's so much.
Yeah, but to find the link to my book, Navigating Workplace Challenges and a Guide for Employees, they can find the link on my website, newdawnholistichealth.com.
Yeah, and I can find you on LinkedIn too. So
Oh yeah.
which is like your gold mine for
Yeah.
for our businesses that need help, and just especially after the pandemic, or during the pandemic and after the pandemic, it's an untouchable thing, right? No one wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole, and so it sounds like you have a way to bridge the gap for others. So so if you need help in either corporate or in personal relationships, jump on a call with us.
Yes.
Either field, we can tell you all the things.
All right. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, Leandra. I'm looking forward to learning more about what you do, and so excited to see what you're going to do in 2025.
Lots of fun.
All right.
Lots of dating. As I gather stories, there are good men out there.
Yes.
That are listening. Lots of good men.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous.
All right. Thank you.
You too.
Wow, I knew that bringing those two together is going to be interesting. This is a great conversation.
It was, and there's so much to learn over there, and I didn't even realize Dawn had a book. Now we have to go get her book.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people always think that the job is a job, but the job is actually a relationship that you really have to harness, because that is a big part of your life.
Exactly, and depending on where the relationship goes,
And
both
sometimes
those coaches will really help.
You see your coworkers more than you see your spouse, or that is actually kind of like dating other people.
Exactly. So who do we have next week?
Next week we have Sandra and Sandy, so it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. One beat Hashimoto's and one beat cancer. So don't miss next week. It's going to be our last episode of A Special Beginning for January, for new beginnings. So join us here every Friday at 7 p.m. CST. You can watch past episodes at E360 TV in the Vitality TV network, or of course catch catch past episodes at our YouTube channel at Chronically Healthy Life. And if you'd like to know more about what we do, check out our website. visit us at chronicallyhealthylife.com or click on the QR code or scan the QR code, whatever it is, and book some time and let's chat.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.